Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
It's a Monday. It's a new week.
It's an off day.
It's the day after Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there who listen to Baseball is Dead.
Yes, happy Mother's Day to you.
Yeah, we appreciate all the moms out there.
Us. Yep.
Yeah, we appreciate all the moms out there. Underdog did a phenomenal job with the Dallas Braden Mother's Day video that went out on Mother's Day. That was tremendous. Cool. Ace hates mothers. Hates them. Yeah, he's a big dad only guy. But yeah, it was a nice little day. I'm sure, Dallas, you spent it at the yard.
Yeah, got to spend it at the ballpark. Got to wake up with the fam before. They did not go to the game. They had to travel. We had our adventure the day before. That was in IKEA. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, just really cool. And I'm a sucker for, and I think our camera crew knows it at this point, but I'm just a sucker for the mom shots with the kids. Like not even mom and dad. Like I appreciate mom and dad, but like, and I saw a ton of this. Moms walking with like 2 and 3 kids by themselves to the park. And I always load my backpack up with baseballs so that I can make sure that these folks just have something. And it's just, it's one of the coolest things ever, man, to be able to be in a position where you can where you watch a baseball turn a family's day into like the most magical moment ever. And it's just a ball, but it's so much more than just a ball. But yeah, our camera crew just fucking every inning, man. It was like at one point I was like, all right, I get it. Like I can't get through the game here without just like, my heartstrings being pulled at. But great day at the ballpark. Yeah, caught an L, caught a huge L.
Big L, yeah.
Got a beat down.
Yeah.
Straight up worked. But other than that, fabulous.
That's good. Jayhay, you enjoyed yours as well?
Wonderful weekend, wonderful Mother's Day. Got to spend it with my spouse, my mother-in-law, and my mother.
Look at that.
Yep.
Nice.
The triple crown of Mother's Days.
Yeah, the triple crown, as they say. Yeah. Yeah, when you say triple crown, I think of Miguel Cabrera.
Oh.
I think of Miguel Cabrera, someone that made the transition from third base to first base.
But I mean, that's a guy who
that's asking a lot.
Well, it's asking a lot, Jayhay, but it's like Miggy was a selfless, I'm here to do whatever I can to help the team win kind of guy. And I think it's important to note that because that's not something you see every day. But it's not something you see everywhere.
That's a good point. But like, I think it should be remembered that Miggy was more like a role player though. So like he kind of like had to do whatever it took to stick on the roster. He wasn't like a star player, like on a kind of long-term big money contract.
Right, not like bona fide superstar.
Not a Hall of Fame type of guy. No.
Right, totally different. Bit player. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. That's kind of like a supplemental story at this point.
Yeah.
A couple days
no
old.
Big deal.
Yeah.
It's already dying on the vine.
John
yesterday's
hasn't
news.
Been on an airplane since he rode coach with the Wright brothers, and now he's back on an airplane.
Yeah, that's yesterday's news. Bud Black, man, wow, that's it's tough. That's tough. You get handed not the best hand. It's kind of like what do you get? Like a 7-2 offsuit coming into this, and not the best hand to play with. Yeah, not the best hand you want to get dealt.
Flop, not awesome. Turn,
someone's
not great.
gonna go. You get your shit pushed in 21-0. I mean, it was. I believe it was 19-0 after like the 5th inning. So, way to hold shit down in the back half for the bullpen. That's nice.
But I mean, and look, jokes aside, because I have a ton of respect for Buddy. Ton of respect for Buddy. But I think what would have been like, I think everybody in baseball would have understood if Buddy would have wrote it out for the game, and then like the 3rd or 4th pitching change, he just on the way out, he starts to untuck the jersey. He just kind of gives a wave to everybody in the crowd, and then is like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not going to be able to make it to that in between inning interview because I am done. Gone.
Is there a more ridiculous sequence than the GM coming out before the game and giving him the vote of confidence, them losing 21-0 right after that, and then firing him. It's like, I just like, I know the vote of confidence is almost like its own Grim Reaper now, because like you get it and it's like people are now watching for you to be fired. But I don't think I've ever seen a sequence where it came like literally
3 hours
after the game that the GM or owner was speaking before. That's incredible.
That is a gross lack of feel. Like either lack of feel or is that like,
no, I think it is a lack of feel, actually. I'm going to interrupt you because like there's a lot of ways we can go here, but I do think one of them is that everything the GM has said or done, put aside building the roster, has oozed lack of feel since this execution, basically. Like, obviously, if you give a guy a vote of confidence and then fire him within the span of 24 hours, that is by definition a lack of feel on the situation, right? And then all the comments afterwards basically shifting the blame for the failure of this team to unfortunate injuries. And like the article listed the people that were injured, and like all due respect to them and their injuries, it was like an Onion article. It was like, you know, Austin Gomber has been missing. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, Austin got what?
It really is a it's a lack of feel thing, because I couldn't imagine, just on a human level, walking into a baseball man's office like that, and I don't know that this happened, but you know, having any sort of personal exchange and then having that public exchange where you're telling everybody that, you know, you're behind the guy, and then only to know like what happened. Like, if he won the game, was that the turning point in the executive branch's mind? Like, hey, you know what? If Buddy pulls this one out on Mother's Day, if we get that Mother's Day miracle we're looking for here, then yeah, I think we're on the right path. I think
we're talking
definitely
extension after that.
We're turning the corner. We're turning like, is this one game? And so you knew, and from on a human level, like I'm sorry, boys, but like if I knew that I was in a position to have to levy news like that to somebody that I respected, to somebody that I cared about, I can't do that to them 3 hours beforehand, right? I can't do it. And oh man, that's the tough part, is regardless of how things have gone here recently for Buddy, what he has been through and what he has like tried to help usher in as far as the tip of the spear for this franchise is concerned, that needs to be respected. And it is terrible to think that all of that just was cast aside in the way that went down. Like, that is, oh man.
Yeah. It takes a special individual to show up to work every day. I mean, baseball in particular, it's every day. Showing up every day, knowing you have no shot, knowing that the individuals that you have to manage, and not just manage from a lineup card depth chart perspective. I mean, you have to manage the mental health of 26 guys for an entire season. Like, it takes a special individual to be able to do that. And I don't know. I mean, like, maybe conversations go on behind closed doors where, like, I'm not saying in Bud Black's situation in particular, but say you're in a similar situation. If you're the manager, aren't you just like, man, get me the fuck out? Like, I don't want to do this. Like, I signed up to manage a baseball team, and now I'm trying to get 26 individuals to prevent them from having mental breakdowns because of how bad it is here, because of how toxic the environment is, because of how depressing the state of affairs are, given how untalented the roster is and how dire the situation is for this entire franchise and organization. So I don't know. I mean, if like I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine because he's a Rockies fan, and he was like, I know. I know.
I don't know that I have one of those.
A through and through Rockies fan. Like, will, like, not watching 162, but $110 maybe, like still enough where you're doing a disservice to your own
Enormous
mental
respect.
health.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
And we were having the conversation of, would you take the job because you're a big league manager? You get to say you're managing a big league baseball team, but factoring in, it's not just 30 teams, 30 job descriptions. Like Dallas has detailed the type of guy that Mark Kotsay is, and the job that he's taken on with the A's. And obviously it's a much better situation now than what he found it in.
But he's a part, and I got to stop you right there. I hope you're going to say it, and you can follow up, you can reiterate, but let me be the one to say it. He is a massive part of why. He is
no
a
doubt.
huge part as to why things are different. And that's why I think it's important to be able to identify individuals like this. And if you don't see that progress, then you interject, right? Then you try to redirect the course if you're a front office. And I can understand that. I think Will Venable will be a great case study to see how this can go. The problem is, Jared, on either side of this, whether it's a Mark Kotsay, whether it's a Will Venable, whether it's whomever is going to take over the job as a full-time manager as opposed to the interim manager.
I don't know that there was an interim label slapped on that. I think that was only in Pittsburgh.
No, there's an interim.
Was?
Yeah, because right now, Clint Hurdle is the interim bench coach. And in my opinion, there's probably a reason why Clint Hurdle was brought into the fold very early as the, a hitting coach. And that was just to establish a presence. I don't know if you remember me kind of hinting at this, but you establish the presence, and then from there, the shuffle occurs. I'm not telling you Clint Hurdle's going to be the manager again, but I'm telling you that if there's somebody that they do fancy being the manager, they'd like him to sit next to and talk to, somebody who's kind of been in that role before. May I introduce you to Clint Hurdle? Mm-hmm. And so you got to have the pieces around you, and you also have to have a executive branch that is willing to move in the right direction or move in the direction that you've been brought here to do. And the main takeaway, to your point about it being a 30 team, 30 jobs type situation, that makes a difference. It only makes a difference once you've started to establish yourself as a manager. And from there, what you're willing to deal with and what you're not starts to sort of telegraph itself. Yeah. Which is why Bob Melvin, in my opinion, with all the respect that he's had in this game and has in this game, it was probably understood that there was going to be a downturn in productivity and a shift in approach as to how things were done with the roster. So, Bob Melvin, are you willing to stick around for this? If so, fantastic. We'd love to have you. We understand that you probably want to see things from a different perspective, and you're beyond this moment in your career.
Jay, you have a thought?
Yeah, on the Clint Hurdle stuff, just before we move on to whatever part of the Rockies we're going to tear down. Like, obviously, I have no problem with Clint Hurdle, the man. But I do think like his presence and that he's reestablished a significant role in the organization, while perhaps beneficial to Wayne Schaefer or whoever the interim guy is, like on a game-to-game management level, and maybe a culture setting. I'm not diminishing his abilities there. I do think it's symptomatic of a problem that exists with the Rockies, which is a lack of external input or new ideas, new thinking, that run counter to how they have always done things. And like Clint Hurdle is reaching back into a past that ran from 2002 to 2009 and really included one moment, going to the World Series in 2007, right? Like outside of that team was pretty much as bad as the Rockies, not this bad, but like the 4th and 5th place Rockies version that we know. And I just think like it, while probably harmless, I do think it's like, until I personally see the Rockies like inject like a new voice, a new leadership team, a new like culture setting, like front office or wherever you're going to establish that culture. Like it's hard for me to think any differently about how things are going to go for the Rockies, because it's always been the same under this ownership and Monfort and all that sort of stuff. And it seems like it's always going to be the same if your current general manager is coming out. And I know you can't say I suck, like, and you should fire me. But to me, the quotes from him read as maybe tone deaf, maybe, responsibility evading. But at the very least, it sounded like somebody who didn't really see how big of a problem this actually is.
And let's always remember that these 30 teams are essentially 30 corporations, right? And it's corporations that happen to be involved in sports and sports entertainment. But the idea still remains, they're a corporation. And you have people in place on that ladder that execute things in a fashion that is beneficial to everyone, but most importantly, the executive branch. So to your point, Jayhay, about having voices that are sort of just echoing internally and there isn't really much noise from the outside penetrating this bubble, probably for a reason.
I believe entering play today, the Colorado Rockies are on pace to have a run differential that is worse than -500, which would be the worst run differential all time by like 100 runs.
They've caught a couple 20 pieces here early.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
But that also speaks to like how far away this team is, and the idea that you've missed Ezequiel Tovar being the difference between your season and not, and is just like, it's laughable on its face. Like Ezequiel Tovar could be an actual MVP candidate, like a legitimate, no doubt about it MVP candidate, and it changes nothing about where this team is in the standings fundamentally. Like it just doesn't. And like I don't know how anybody could, with a straight face, look at a team that's 7-33 and has been outscored by, I think it was 129 runs through 40 games, and just look at this roster kind of subjectively, like looking at the names and their track records and what they've done so far, and think that it's going to be anything different than what it's been. It's just I know it feels like on some level a similar conversation to what we've done with the Pirates, but like at least the Pirates have like star pieces they can point to as reasons you show up to the ballpark every day to watch O'Neal Cruz or Andrew McCutchen, or every fifth day to watch Paul Skeens, like, or whatever other versions of their pitchers are healthy. But like, there's nothing here. There's nothing here.
Last year, the Chicago White Sox had a -306 run differential. The worst run differential all time, the 1932 Boston Red Sox, -349. And here we are about a month and a half into the season.
Talking about a 500.
And they are on pace for, I believe the number is -518 is what they're on pace for. But they enter play today with a -128 run differential.
It's fun to joke about, and I'm like right at the front of the line on joking about this stuff. But I do think it's like, it reveals something of a problem about the sport. I think that in 3 consecutive seasons, we've had teams that at the time were making runs or arguments for the worst teams in modern baseball history. And I'm not going to make Dallas relive the 23 Athletics. And I think they've come out on the other side of that looking like they're probably at a point right now that's the best case scenario, or damn near best case scenario from at least a roster standpoint, from where they were being the worst team of all time 2 seasons ago. We'll see where the White Sox get, but that we've come up with a third team in yet again. And that this team, like the idea that we are really having a conversation that a team is worse than the White Sox last year, after all the jokes and all the trends and the numbers that we all talked about throughout the season, and that they delivered on. They were the worst team that we have really ever seen. And the Rockies are like, we have the the third installment of this movie coming ahead, and we are actually the worst. It's the most extreme. And I just think that's funny. It's not good for those teams, but I also think it's like bad that there are teams that are this big of jokes and like this so far from being non-competitive. I mean, they've been, so it's 128 runs, right? Through 40 games.
Mm-hmm.
The 23 A's are the only other instance in modern baseball history, so since 1900, where a team has been outscored by 125 or more runs through 40 games. So the only instances have happened in the last 2 years, or 3 years. And I'm guessing the White Sox probably aren't really that far off from a pretty arbitrary number of 125 through 40 games. So like, I don't know. It's,
well, and again, to my point about the corporation perspective, those are franchises that were making moves and making decisions to try to reposition themselves competitively is how I think I can most liberally say that.
But the A's have a very recent history of turning teams around and producing competitive teams on pretty short windows or tight budgets or whatever you want to do. The Rockies have basically no history of doing that over any sustained period of time.
Right. It's our DNA. It is just what we do. And yeah, that's not been the case for the Rockies.
Well, answer the question. There's 30 MLB managerial openings. You are offered the Rockies job. Are you taking it? Or are you saying that's just a situation I don't want to be a part of?
Yeah, I think if you are seeking a manager's job, yes, you take it. Because where else? And here's why. Just being serious for a minute. You are, if you're in this game to do that job and you're in this game to teach, that's a wonderful opportunity to learn how to do that at the highest level. Those opportunities aren't handed out everywhere. Feels like there's a golden ticket like that every now and then. And that golden ticket is the team or the franchises that are at that point that I just talked about, making business decisions, heading in a different way. And this is a chance where you get to cut your teeth. You get to figure out what it's like to manage up, to manage down, because there's a solid chance in that situation you're going to be hearing things from the front office that you're going to have to redistribute accordingly to your staff, to the players. And you're gonna learn how to do that, and you're gonna learn how to do it well, because that's gonna just be part of the job. And so that job and that experience is only going to set you on a trajectory to be better at your job the further in this game you get. I'll give you my perspective as a broadcaster, Jared. There's nobody, in my opinion, that is going to be better at their job having done what we've done and having gone through the transitions that we've gone through as a production staff, as a director, as a producer, as just, and that's because of the tests and the challenges that have been placed in front of you. And I will be better for it. And that's how I have to look at this question you're asking. Is it's an opportunity to be better at one of the most important roles that the game has.
So here's my counter to that, Dallas. I respect your perspective. I respect your experience being applied to your answer. But if you're a veteran manager that just wants another gig, that wants
I got a house
the
in
next
Cabo.
paycheck,
I'm good. I'm good.
But
and you
what
answer
if you
the
don't?
phone?
I'm just saying, if you don't, if you're a manager that you want the next gig, you haven't made enough money in the big leagues, it's a job to you, I understand wanting to take it. If you are, let's say, Grady Sizemore, who just had the White Sox job last year for like a month, and he obviously wants to learn and become a big league manager full time. To what you were saying, you know, you're going to learn X, Y, and Z, and you're going to take this on, you're going to cut your teeth, you're going to get the experience. In an organization like the Rockies, aren't you almost learning how it shouldn't be done, so that by the time you want to interview for the job you do want, like let's say the Phillies job opens up next winter, and you're like, oh, this is a first-class organization. I get to work with Dave Dombrowski. They have superstars here. They have a fan base that gives a shit. I'd like to take this job. And then you go for the interview and then you're talking about all the things that you've learned with the Rockies. And then they're just like, yeah, we got to unlearn all of this and we've got to teach you the Phillies way, because that's like, you learned loser baseball. Like, you didn't learn winning baseball while you were there.
And that is always going to be part of the equation, is onboarding and offboarding is what that's called, right? And so this is how this franchise did it. Okay, fabulous. This is how we're doing it. And these are the changes. These are the differences. The best part about that question, Jared, is you want to know what doesn't change is the fundamentals to our game. That's what doesn't change. And those are things that baseball minds can always go back to. The game is evolving. The fundamental foundation that this game was built upon, though, it remains. And what you're learning is how people do business, and you're learning how to operate within those parameters. And when you jump on the other side of the fence and things are a little different, I mean, it's like going from a small market team that doesn't spend a lot of money to a big market team that makes you feel like you can just start throwing money to everybody. And how does that situation look? How does that feel? Well, I mean, it doesn't always work out, right? Doesn't always work out, because we watch Farhan Zaidi leave the Athletics and find himself in San Francisco, and now it's Buster Posey's show. And maybe being in those situations where you're learning doesn't always translate. I don't know, but it's a hell of an opportunity. I can tell you that.
Do you know Buster Posey at all?
No, just brief interactions. But no,
do you know him more as a player or as an executive, like your interactions?
As a player.
Did he give off the vibe of this guy's going to work in a front office someday?
I'm going to tell you this. There's a reason that during his tenure, you didn't see a lot of hoopla from the boys, if you will. There wasn't ice baths. He wasn't getting crushed like as he started to work into that leadership role, because Buster's about the business of baseball. He just wants to win. That's just like he was basically a young like 53-year-old with experience, and like, you know what I mean? Like, that was his mentality dropped into a young player's body who was performing at an elite level, was handling some super vet staffs and playing with super vets, being taught the game by super vets. And I mean, it showed. It showed from day one. And it's already, I mean, like my buddy Pat the Bat saw him in spring, and he came up and he gave me a fucking hug. He was like, ah. Who? I don't know what you're talking about. Pat grabbed me, like hugged me, and he's a fucking huge human being. But he's like, oh, and I was like, in the uni, baby, on the field, spikes on, like, let's fucking go. And he's like, I know it. And he was like, Buster's bringing the boys back, baby. He's bringing the boys back. And like, that's just like when you got dudes like that around, man, like things are just different. Things are just different. Those are the things that we talk about being unquantifiable, and baseball minds appreciating that. Like, they're done trying to quantify it. They're done trying to explain it to the people who are constantly trying to quantify it. They're basically taking those people and going, look, you take your calculators and compasses and protractors and shit, and you sit over there and you do whatever you want to. It's fine. But I appreciate you. But this is a baseball decision I'm making right now, and I need these guys in the building, and that's how it's going to be. So find a way to coexist. Cats and dogs will live together under the same roof.
Okay. Jayhay, you have a thought?
No, I'm just interested to see whether it's used as a litmus test either way. For people who want to hold it up or for people who want to tear it down, whether the Giants end up having success under the Buster Posey regime. And,
I bet they do. And a lot of them. Sustained.
Well, in fairness, the Giants have been a very successful organization, broadly speaking, for a long time. So that they would get back to success is certainly a viable path. They're 24-17 as we're speaking right now, third in the division. That's another part of it, though, is the bar to succeed in the NL West is higher than the last time that the Giants were really good, even while the Dodgers were really good during that period, right? It's just a different game a little bit now. And part of why this team was perhaps more excited about the season is because Buster Posey was allowed to spend an enormous amount of money last offseason. And like in bringing in or re-signing Matt Chapman and bringing in Willy Adames. And part of it that I'm interested to see is how much spending is allowed moving forward. And while they can't go toe to toe with the Dodgers, let's go,
buddy.
You can come pretty close. The Giants are a pretty wealthy organization.
Well, hey, the trade market right here at the break, like that's going to be
For sure.
an opportunity. Whether I call it a big opportunity, I think we got to hold off and see where things start to shake out come summer. But that will be an opportunity to showcase kind of what the approach is, right? To sort of unveil that, like, hey, if we're within shouting distance, which we feel like we're going to be, then we've positioned ourselves to make some moves. We've positioned ourselves to go hunting, and maybe it's big game hunting. Who knows?
Well, and I think for that rotation, it probably should or needs to be if their hopes are championship level. Maybe not needs to be, but probably should be. But I know most people listening would probably assume that I'm like, anti or whatever the player and, the nerd side. I don't think, I think having a former player, an MVP winner, multi-time World Series winner, be a successful face of your organization from a front office standpoint in retirement is awesome and would be among the best possible things that could happen for the Giants brand. Like, I think that allows a connection with a previous generation and even with a new generation to have a former great in whose jersey, or not jersey, but number you can see retired in the rafters, not fucking basketball arena, but you get my point. But
Ring of Honor.
You get my point. I just think that's cool as opposed to something I'm rooting against. So I hope it succeeds.
What, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a recent example of a former legendary player taking over in a front office. Is like John Elway in the NFL.
But
I'm sure there's examples before that, but I'm thinking like John Elway is going out and handpicking Peyton Manning, right? He's like, we're signing this guy. This is the ones who's going to do it. And he did it. And
And how did that story end, right? Like that he brought Peyton Manning in, they won a Super Bowl, and then they spent the rest of John Elway's tenure not having Peyton Manning and not winning Super Bowls until he was canned, basically. And legend, that happens to legends too. And like John Elway's as big as it gets in Denver. And it didn't work out in the end. So
wasn't Wayne Gretzky like a shitty coach?
Maybe, I don't know enough about hockey to say.
I think he was an awful coach for the Coyotes, I want to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could just be making shit up. I know he wasn't
like a
good
1
coach.
year piece, right?
Don't know. I just know he wasn't good at it. But you can be good at the Underdog Fantasy app. I know that.
Sure can.
Ooh.
Yeah. Underdog just dropped their playoff basketball promo. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. You're going to want to see how serious it gets when that Game 7 hits. Hop on Underdog right now, the best place to make picks during playoff basketball, and get started right now. Make sure you sign up with the promo code Jared, that's Jared, to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits and a special pick on Underdog. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Jared. I'm actually really glad that Jayhay made this late addition to the rundown, because last night we were having our Rafael Devers first base DH conversation, and we were talking about full-time DHs in Major League Baseball right now who are paid more money than Rafael Devers. And Coley had the list, and he listed off whatever it was, 4 different guys that have a higher AAV or a higher salary this year alone than Rafael Devers, because everyone was like, well, he's the highest paid DH and he's making too much money to be a DH. There's guys that are making more money than him. All that to say that Shohei Ohtani was on the list, And Coley said, until he gets back on the mound, he is just a DH. And I said, I don't know that we're going to see him pitch in the big leagues again. I don't know. There's nothing that has told me that Shohei Ohtani is going to be a 30 or 25 starting pitcher in the big leagues again. Bob Nightingale reported that Shohei Ohtani will be held back from pitching until after the All-Star break. And as far as the elbow procedures go, I mean, realistically speaking, Dallas, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. Nathan Eovaldi appears to be the only real success story. I'm not talking about returning. I'm talking about coming back and being just as good, if not better. The list is really Nathan Eovaldi. And with Shohei Ohtani, it's not like what he had isn't exactly Tommy John surgery, but it's serious elbow surgery. He's had it twice. And as far as recovery time goes, he has already blown past the recovery time that everyone else that's had 2 elbow surgeries, their recovery times. He's already exceeded that. And now we're being told it's an even longer wait than this. So I don't know what your guys' take on this is. I don't want to put it out into the universe that he's not going to come back and pitch again.
You just did.
But the writing is on the wall here. That
the writing's on the wall that he's never going to pitch in Major League Baseball again.
The writing's on the wall that the Shohei Ohtani, the starting pitcher that we once knew, is no longer. If he comes back to pitch, it's going to be in a very limited capacity.
Well, see, now you're already backpedaling. Those things are very different. Him never pitching in Major League Baseball again, and him not being a 30 start guy. Those are 2 different things.
It wouldn't surprise me if he never pitched again.
And I have long said, and look, we don't even have to get into the economy of the deal again, because I think we would all agree that deal is already a clear deal that favors the Dodgers based on compensation, blah, blah, blah. So with that being said, you needing to get whatever you thought you needed to get out of Ohtani from a 2-way player perspective, based on the economy of the deal, that's gone. That's no longer a factor. So now, did you always think that you were going to have a DH 30 start guy for the next decade? No, you made peace with that. You knew that wasn't going to be a thing. And you knew that wasn't going to be a thing because one of the 2 sides was going to win out at some point in time. And this is an example of that. And winning out doesn't mean that he was just significantly better than one side or the other. It means that the productivity of one side and potential health risks from the other were always going to be a factor. Now that equation is starting to work itself out. So what did I tell you? The minute that this dude showed up with his ability to pitch and hit to the level he has, is at some point in time, he will be utilized as that reliever, as that leverage guy. And I think that that's a role that he will absolutely entertain, that they will absolutely try to see if they can work out, because imagine the impact of having a guy like him who's healthy in a spot to come in and take care of business late in the game. That would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic to have. So if he's not somebody that can take the ball 30 times year in and year out for the next 6-7 years, I think we all understand. But if he is somebody who can go get you 3, maybe 6 outs, I think we entertain that.
I just want to say I definitively disagree with the idea that he's not going to pitch again. I think there are explanations for why that, to go back to the core point, which is that he's well beyond the traditional timeline for a return to pitching or a return to official game status. I think there are concrete reasons for why they are treating it the way that they are. The first reason, and I think he probably would be pitching already, if not for the fact that he had labrum surgery, right? And I know it was the left labrum, and he throws with his right arm, but that obviously slowed down his ability to rehab his pitching elbow at the speed and rate and consistency that he otherwise would have liked. Correct, Dallas? Am I right about that?
Absolutely correct, Jay. And he's got to do other things physically as well. He's got to hit. So this is a dude who's resting and recovering from major structural surgery while also serving as potentially the best hitter on your team.
And I think that's a key point. Like, if you're just a pitcher and that's all your value, then I think you probably are approaching your return to the mound in a certain way. But the idea that, like, and I feel like, Jared correctly identified last week that we needed to spend a decent chunk of an episode glazing Aaron Judge, and I'm glad we did that. Maybe not full glaze status yet, but like, I feel like Shohei Ohtani in a lot of ways actually having a better season, or at least the season that's on pace for a similarly valuable season than what he did last season when he did 54, 59. In fact, I know it's just one stat, but like, his OPS and OPS plus are both higher this season than they were last season. So I feel like we're not even talking about Shohei Ohtani's on-field greatness at a level that we typically would. But I think that he is so valuable to that team is a reason why you're slow playing what is admittedly the lesser valuable side of him. And it doesn't really matter how good of he is as a pitcher when he returns. Even the best version of Shohei Ohtani made Dallas reference the 30 start version. That not only isn't coming back, it never existed. Like, he made 28 starts, which I know is nitpicking, but the point is that like he topped out at 166 innings and 28 starts back in 22. That will be 3 full seasons removed from the time that we're talking about that. And he had 132 innings and 23 starts in 23. So yeah, I think whether it's a reliever, a long guy, a guy who starts games and goes for X number of innings, like whatever form it takes, I do think, Jared, you're right in the sense that we're never getting that previous version of Ohtani back necessarily, who's giving you 160 innings, or the fully realized version where you're getting these 30 starts. But I don't think they're incentivized to do so. I don't think he's incentivized to do so. And to Dallas's point that he brings up about the contract, I don't really think the contract incentivizes them to ask too much out of him from a pitching standpoint. And if people listening think that sounds like a fucking cop-out for Shohei Ohtani, like, oh, now you're saying that he doesn't even need to pitch that much after you guys, have spent years blowing him as a two-way player. I fully expect him to be a pitcher contributing on that side. But I also think the reality is that he suffered multiple injuries, one of which didn't occurred as the Dodgers were basically celebrating the World Series, right? Not literally, but almost. And and he just has gotten so valuable as an offensive player that I think that the math on Shohei Ohtani's value has never been more skewed in favor of making sure that he's on the field swinging the bat for the Dodgers. And if he's pitching, fucking cool, man. But if he's not, he's still Shohei Ohtani. And I think that still makes a lot of sense for everybody involved.
Yeah, I no part of me thinks like if he doesn't pitch ever again, that it's like, man, what a mistake that contract was. He's worth every penny. Like
it would be a little disappointing.
It would be disappointing as a fan, but if I'm writing the check for Shohei Ohtani, I'm happy to do it. Even if he never pitches again, I'm happy to cut him the check for every bit of that $700 million.
Sorry, one more thing. I still do have dreams of the high leverage Shohei Ohtani pitching and hitting in postseason spots. Like I'm not letting go of that dream. And I know he just won the World Series and like that part's already banked. But like the idea that he could be hitting a walk-off hit, striking out somebody to end the game, or getting the game leading hit and then strike, like just this sort of sequence. Like I'm not letting that go because they're going to be in the postseason and he may be healthy enough to be contributing at some level on the mound once that rolls around. And that's what I really want to see.
That'd be cool.
He could be pitching the top of the ninth and then coming up and hitting the walk-off.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let's fucking do that. Like if he does that, I almost don't care what he does for the rest of his career. Like he would have checked every single thing you could possibly check in the sport of baseball. And it's like, and he really already has, we all know that, but like, that would be pretty fucking cool. Yeah, and I'm ready to see it.
Silly.
I almost prefer that.
I know yourself in the postseason.
Well, I'm saying like from
those moments.
If you're a Dodger executive, you'd rather have starting pitcher Shohei and DH Shohei combined. But as a fan, I almost rather would have the high leverage reliever Shohei combined with the DH Shohei. I think it's a more exciting experience. I know that, if you're the one that's signing the checks, you want the higher value and it makes more sense to have the starting pitcher. But for an excitement factor, for an entertainment factor, if Shohei Ohtani is punching out 3 in the top of the 9th, and then it's 2, 3, 4 coming up in the bottom half, and he hits a walk-off home run, like what's cooler than that?
Or
nothing.
You slap some awesome entrance music too. You think of how crazy people went for Edwin Diaz's little gimmick a couple years ago. That was Edwin Diaz. Like you give Shohei Ohtani some badass entrance music, make him the closer.
Yeah.
What would his entrance song be, Dallas?
I don't know. I'd want some like fucking fight, like some war chant type shit.
I said 2, 3, 4. I meant 1, 2, 3. I'm an idiot. But the only reason why Shohei Ohtani isn't leading the world in every statistical category in the National League is because his teammate's doing so. And if there's going to be some glazing going on, Bob Nightingale had this tweet. Freddie Freeman, who still gets treatment on his surgically repaired right ankle for an hour and a half before every game, is hoping he can finally get healthy by the All-Star break. Went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and a home run. So this is a dude that is still, quote unquote, not healthy, needs an hour and a half of treatment on his right ankle to be ready every single night to play baseball. He is leading the league, hitting .376 with a .437 on base percentage. He's slugging .734. His OPS is 1170 with a .228 OPS plus. All of those marks lead the league.
Who has a higher on base than Freddie right now in the
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, who's on base more than Freddie Freeman?
It's Pete Alonso and Marcelo's. Oh, I guess it depends on what the qualifier is that you're using. I should watch my mouth here for a second because I think Bob was using something else.
Ozuna's 420. Alonso is 434.
Yeah,
so those are both?
Pavin Smith.
Oh, there you go.
If we're using a reduced qualifier, would be the answer.
I mean, that's ridiculous because the batting average leads the league, slugging leads the league, OPS leads the league, OPS plus. I mean, just
Dallas. If I were to ask you, obviously Aaron Judge, number 1, 3.4 wins above replacement. Who's second Major League Baseball in wins above replacement?
I mean, is it? No,
it's a guy who I don't believe we've said his name once this year on this podcast.
Really?
Jayhay, it sounds like Jayhay disagrees.
I think I got him in Nuggs at one point, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
he was a Jayhay Nugg. We haven't had a conversation about him.
I don't know who.
Fernando Tatís Jr. 2.9.
Yeah, no,
like he's right up Judge's ass.
I think we've talked about him.
I don't know that we have. I think he's come up as like I know that his name came up when we were talking about players who have switched positions in their 20s, Latin players, because I know that like the Latin aspect of it, you bring in the respect factor and all that. He switched positions. I mean, he's objectively a better right fielder than he is at shortstop.
I don't think there's much conversation about that
at
all.
No. Platinum Glover out there.
I know MVP conversations on May 12th are really silly, but since we don't have one to have in the AL, to your point about Tatís, I do think like if you're looking at some of the best candidates right now to unseat Shohei, between Tatís and Corbin Carroll and P. Crow Armstrong, who I am going to put in that conversation until he proves otherwise, because that defense is world class. Like, I think that's a really intriguing trio of players to try to unseat him. And Tatís obviously being the most interesting and the most electric and the most famous. But, or an NL West only MVP race. Could be kind of fun.
You know what's going to be cool about it, Jayhay, is Shohei Ohtani's reemergence on the mound is going to be its own catapult in this conversation. And it's going to be like there's a small window of baseball fans who are going to be like, oh, shit. Like, could you imagine having this dude like pitch and hit at the same time? Like, oh, my God, this is incredible. This is crazy.
And honestly, I know
it's coming. It's coming.
For sure. And like, this is much less important than that. But I do remember one conversation that we had at the beginning of this season, or like mentioned, whatever, is the idea that everybody expected Shohei to be much less aggressive on the base paths coming off of, the 50-50 season. And like, I'm coming back from pitching. Like, let's be a little bit more careful. We already won the World Series, my shoulder, all that sort of stuff. He's got 10 stolen bases.
I was going to say he's got 10 bags.
Like that's obviously not top of league, but there are only 12 people, a dozen people in Major League Baseball have stolen double-digit bags. So like, obviously that's not what he's there for, but he's still doing it at a level that's pretty dynamic and puts him on pace for, if not another 50-50 season, then maybe a nice little 40-40 follow-up.
That'd be cool. Just a cute little 40-40.
Yeah, just throw a little 40-40 in the mix. Like, just collecting accolades. Probably wouldn't even mention it. It's like Shohei Ohtani went 40-40. He's like one of X number of people. And it's like, oh yeah, but nobody cares because he went 50-50 the year before.
In a down year in which he was recovering from 2 different arm surgeries.
He regressed into the first guy to ever regress into a 40-40 season.
That's the kind of that's a genuine nerd laugh from Jayhay. Right
yeah, that's funny.
I love it. That's great. Oh, it's great to think about.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being that good?
Took a step back and only hit 40-40 this year.
I'm sorry, man. It wasn't quite the season we all expected. I was recovering from shoulder surgery well as elbow surgery.
My bad, guys.
That's on me. Yeah. Hand up. I got to be better. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it right-handed next year.
Fucked up, man.
Yeah. Sounds like you could use some better help.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get him.
Yeah, let's talk numbers. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up fast. But with BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. Therapy should be accessible, not like a luxury. And with online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense and help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it. And now it's within reach. And boy, did I need that online therapy after coming back from the UK. 10 days on a bus will do a lot to your mind,
Is it a bus that was worked on by one of the Beatles?
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, it was George's bus. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's convenient too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life, plus switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit BetterHelp.com/baseball today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/baseball. Love a good baseball. I was talking Shohei and Freddie. Jayhay, we got yelled at on Twitter. Someone said if we don't talk Cardinals that we're going to be banned forever.
Yeah. Can I just do one note on Freddie really fast before we move on? Because I feel like you brought him up and then we just talk Shohei. Happens. But I just, and this is partially on me from an expectation standpoint, but I just go back to this idea when I was watching Freddie Freeman primarily with the Braves and like his career trajectory and the type of player that he looked like he was going to be for a lot of that. Like at no point really did I think we were looking at a Hall of Fame level player and a no doubt. Dude, I don't think there's anything about Freddie Freeman's first 5 or 6 years in the big leagues until, admittedly he hits what is the prime of his career. But that first chunk, like until he was 25 years old, to me, that screamed good, not great. And maybe that's on me, but I just don't remember a player who such a large percentage of his best work, his best seasons, his MVP accolades, all that sort of stuff happened in his 30s. What's up?
Didn't he win the fucking Rookie of the Year? No, he didn't win the Rookie of the Year.
And also, like respectfully, I don't give a fuck about the Rookie of the Year as it relates to what type of player you're projecting to be.
He's
right?
got to put you on notice, though, at bare minimum, that this was the best young player in the game. Let's start there. I understand why you might not think early on it's a clear-cut case.
Hall of Fame. Not this guy's really good. Hall of Fame.
I mean, fuck, man.
He had 2 All-Star appearances through 25. Again,
MVP votes too. Did he not?
He had a 5th and a 23rd through 25. Yes.
Okay, so a top 5 finish, and then he backs it up with another down ballot season. So yes. I like this. So now we're talking about a guy who, in the first 5 seasons, you said is a part of an MVP conversation. So
yeah, I mean, you can disagree. You can say that you saw a Hall of Fame caliber player. I don't think that's at first base. I don't think that's what it looked like, particularly given some of his contemporaries that he was battling against. Like it seemed at the time that it was like his slugging in particular was never going to get to a level that was top of position. Right. And so,
that was going. And admittedly, Jayhay, I will tell you, I never thought that I would see Freddie Freeman hit 30 homers is what it felt like. It felt like a dude who was just going to like double you to death. And that's where there was a drop off in the comparison in my mind to the bludgeoning that occurs at that position. Cause I don't know, like I think of Big Mac, I think of Todd Helton. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a stereotype that goes with it. Right. And like, there are certainly players that have doubled their way to the Hall of Fame, but it's a harder path and it's a less sexy path. And like, maybe the better way to phrase this is that like, whether you thought he was a Hall of Famer or not, the idea is that like all of Freddie Freeman's best seasons, or almost all of them, have come in his 30s, right? Where he has really established himself as that sort of player. And like, I looked up first baseman to achieve 60 or more wins above replacement through age 35. So he has the rest of this season to go. And it's littered with people that while they were playing in the prime of their careers, the younger portion of their careers, I just felt like they felt more slam dunkish. And Freddie Freeman, and to a lesser extent, Paul Goldschmidt, I think have aged in a way that is really tremendous. And Freddie's obviously on a completely different level now with his aging curve. But like, we're talking about a guy who is legitimately getting better, it feels like, as he ages into his mid-30s, which is insane.
Does Freddie get to 3,000?
So he needs 692 more.
I heard him talk about this in an interview recently where he said, now that I'm kind of like within striking distance, it is something that is intriguing. Oh, yeah. Like, I'd stick around long enough to be able to do it if I'm still good enough. Not to cut off your conversation, but there was a conversation about Freddie Freeman on, I believe it was in ESPN Los Angeles radio show. Interested to hear what you guys think about the subject matter. Have you guys heard this?
No.
How long do you think Freddie Freeman was in Atlanta?
How long before he got here?
How many seasons do you think Freddie? And I'll give you an idea.
I'm going to fail at 8.
This is okay.
Yeah.
This is Freddie Freeman's 4th year in a Dodger uniform.
Okay.
Okay. So 8 was your guess. I guess 8 or 9. I was exactly where you are.
I said 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Jorge, you want to take a guess?
I was going to say 7, 8.
It can't be more than 8.
12.
12 years. Oh my God.
He spent 12 years in Atlanta. Freddie Freeman, when it's all Freddie Freeman made the All-Star team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times as a member of the Atlanta Braves. He won the MVP as a member of the Atlanta Braves. He won the Gold Glove as a member of the Atlanta Braves. He won 1, 2, 3, 4 Silver Sluggers as a member of the Atlanta Braves. World Series champion as a member of the Atlanta Braves. Are we sure he's not going to be more remembered as a member of this Dodger group than he was with the Atlanta Braves? And that's how good he's been since he's got here. And he was one of those guys that every time he came up, I'm like, oh boy, not this guy. This is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Because he's such a great hitter. But he came here basically because Atlanta kind of kicked him out the door. They decided to go get Olsen instead, younger. And Olsen's a really good player, don't get me wrong. But Freddie Freeman would have spent his entire career in Atlanta given his first choice. Instead, the Dodgers kind of were fortunate that Atlanta made the decision that they did. They end up getting him. And he's been so good for the Dodgers and obviously hitting that home run last year, not only is a defining moment in Dodger history, it's a defining moment in baseball history. Dodger Stadium, World Series, walk-off grand slam, bat in the air, evoking Kirk Gibson, all of those things. He's spent 3 times as much time in Atlanta as he has here in LA. And that LA has kind of imprinted on him. And maybe it's because we're in LA. If you ask somebody in Kansas City, maybe they have a different take, but I'm not so sure.
What do you guys think?
Hollywood will make you a star.
Mm.
That's what I think. I think Hollywood will make you a star. And you want to talk about the romance in baseball? They touched on it, like having an iconic moment, like so lateral to another moment in Dodger lore. And it's funny how, like, it can be lateral, it can be next to, you could vault it ahead. It just dude. And Jayhay, kind of to the point that you're making, to your opinion on who Freddie was as an Atlanta Brave, and was this a Hall of Fame caliber player? And did he have those moments in Atlanta? And man, what he's a part of, and I think that's another part of it too, is the supporting cast that he's around right now and that he has right now, the conversation. I think I think it's tough to not look at it like that the Dodger experience could very well, at the end of this thing, be what you remember Freddie Freeman by. And I think that might have to do with just the amount of success that the Dodgers could be potentially having here throughout his window.
I think it's a great question Jared posed. I think by the end of it, I think it's maybe more likely that he goes in as a Dodger, which is, I get the math. I get 3 times as long, all that sort of stuff. I think he's going to be a central figure in one of the great baseball teams in modern baseball history. I think he's going to be crystallized as, Ohtani, Freeman, Betts, and however long you want to extend that down. But I do think there is an element to his game now. And the fact that, going back to what I said, like that he isn't in a decline phase with his second team, that he's actually as good or better, I do think is meaningful. And I think that he won the World Series and had that moment and I know the Braves fans will say, well, he won an MVP with us and he won a World Series with us. And, we didn't kick him out. It was more complicated than that. And I've been down that road with Braves fans on social media, but like, all due respect, his contributions, to your guys' point, last year are just more memorable on a national level. And the MVP coming in a season that was shortened, and kind of written off by a percentage of fans, not me, but a percentage of fans, I do think eats into that a little bit as well. And I also wonder, just kind of now that we're talking about it, I wonder whether we're going to move away from more and more players having no team identified on the cap, because back in the day, it was really easy to identify which team you were going in the Hall of Fame with, and because it was the team that never let you leave, right?
Sure.
Because you couldn't go anywhere. And the further we get into the free agency era, obviously we've been in it for a while, like there are players that just have incredible legacies with multiple teams. And it's hard to weigh those sorts of things. And I just wonder as we move forward, whether that becomes a thing of the past, and whether Freddie Freeman ends up being a high profile example of that. Because I don't think, he didn't want to leave Atlanta. I think whether it got to a point where he did, I think the initial reporting is such that he did not want to leave. That's where he would have ended his career had all things been equal and all things handled the way that everybody wanted them to be handled. But
I mean, it was basically
he's having so much success. It's like, well, shit, man. It's like
this is the baseball version of Luka Doncic. That's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah. Although nobody ever accused Freddie of being fat and drinking too much. I don't think. Right?
Yeah. Not to my
Yeah,
knowledge,
no, that's not. That's
Was
that's
not an accusation leveled at Freddie.
No, that's not a Freddie thing. No. Yeah. So aside from that, the one franchise maybe for whatever reasons unknown, can't get him back. And Freddie literally, just like Luka, comes to Hollywood to become a star.
Can you imagine I can imagine it because it just happened in the NBA, but if a Major League Baseball GM or owner came out and was like, and I don't even know, trying to think of like who the equivalent player is in Major League, like probably like Bobby Witt Jr. Like
that
traded,
they weren't sure. Like, oh, we weren't
that they
quite
traded
sure.
Bobby Witt Jr. They're like, we're just not sure about his work ethic, and like spent an entire news cycle trashing the shit out of the guy as they traded him to, the fucking New York, like the New York Yankees or the Dodgers or whatever in exchange for, fucking Anthony Volpe and shit like that. And it's like, oh no, we just thought Anthony Volpe's defense is better. It's like, that's more or less what happened. I mean, kind of. It's an extreme comparison, but yeah.
Tough.
Maybe it will someday.
Yeah, and you know what? It'll be more of a respect, and I think it'll be more of a badge of honor, not only for the player and the franchise, to have a player go in wearing a logo, because that means that there's been a connection, right? And a mutual respect and understanding and hopefully love that should exist between a Hall of Fame caliber player and the franchise or the franchises that he plays with.
I'm not going to let you get away with it, Jayhay. We are going to talk about the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I'm just saying. I brought up the Cardinals and you were like, yeah, but Freddie Freeman, though. You're not going to beat the allegations that you don't want to talk about the Cardinals. I'm not letting you slide on this one.
Classic anti. I'm a bias. I'm an East Coast, West Coast bias person.
No doubt. But the St. Louis Cardinals have hauled off 8 straight victories to catapult themselves not only to second place in the NL Central, but within one game of the first place Chicago Cubs. And we were in the St. Louis on opening day. And when I'm in town, I like to listen to sports radio locally, whatever town I'm in, just to, if they're talking baseball, I'll continue to listen. But if it's not baseball, then I'll obviously tune out. I'm not waiting around. But the discourse around Victor Scott II on opening day, a lot of excitement. The fact that he had an electric spring training, the fact that he made the opening day roster, fans were very excited about this. One of the fastest players in the game. And how has he repaid the St. Louis Cardinals for this decision? Well, let's check in. He's hitting 290. He's getting on base at a 357 clip. The slugging leaves a lot to be desired. It's 403. That's why it looks like a lackluster 760 OPS. If you're hitting 290 and getting on base at a 357 clip, most of those guys are going to have an OPS around 850 or better. But we're not talking about a guy with a lot of pop, only 2 homers and 6 doubles. But that being said, because of the defense, because of the speed, he is tied with Lars Nootbaar for the highest wins above replacement on the entire team. Brendan, don't call me a utility player, Donovan, right up their ass with a 1.5 wins above replacement. For all the trade Nolan Arenado talk in the offseason, he's hitting 270, getting on base at a 352 clip. Not a ton of pop from him either. It's a 778 OPS for him. There's not really a ton of pop anywhere in this Cardinal lineup, but they've made do with what they've got. The starting pitching, it's been pretty solid. Has it been great? No. Has it been bad? No, far from it, actually. It's been a rotation that's been able to go out there and give you a chance to win for the most part every 5th day. They're kind of a pass the torch type rotation. Just playing solid, consistent baseball. And that's where they've gotten themselves, just kind of chugging along consistently to be able to haul off the 8 straight wins and be in striking distance of first place here. Pretty surprising. given how when we were interviewing fans in the street, a lot of them were saying, yeah, it's probably going to be 500, couple of games above 500 for the year. That's where a lot of the fans were at.
I think they're still right.
They could be. But
I
for
mean,
right now, they're not.
Nothing about it excites you, Jayhay? Nothing about
No,
it?
I mean, this is so it's funny you phrase it that way, and then I'll shut up and let you talk about the Cardinals. But I think what stood out to me is exactly that. The lack of holes, but the lack of like sex appeal or, greatness or whatever. Like when I looked at this team offensively, it's like 7 or 8 average-ish or slightly above average players, right? And there is value in constructing a team, certainly in an interim transition period, which I think the Cardinals are in, where you lack holes and you're not trotting out legitimately bad players at key spots on a night in, night out basis. And while that maybe is less surprising for the offense, I think it's more surprising, at least to me, what they're getting out of some rotation guys. Like Steven Matz in particular looked like he might kind of just be toast in a lot of ways, particularly from a starting perspective. And, it's mostly in relief, but he's given you 26 innings worth of it, and it's been lights out. And we can finally say that the Cardinals won the Randy Arozarena trade. So congratulations to them with Matthew Liberatore and his performance so far this year. Took a while, but they won the trade. But no, I just think it's a lack of holes. And that's not necessarily an exciting brand of baseball, but in a division like the NL Central, I do think it allows you to get your head above water.
Just be consistent. And I think that's the takeaway from the Cardinals. And that's why fans, hey, the 500, what does that tell you? Well, it's about as consistently average as you can get, right? So what are the Cardinals? Well, if they're consistent in this division, then they have a real chance at the division. I don't think that's right. But that's just kind of how this has always gone with them. So I think realistically, they're a playing well at the right time sort of team, and they're a playing well at the right time moment away from being in the postseason. It's just going to be a matter of, can they do this and play this way and sustain this? Because what are they on? What, 8-game heater right now?
Yeah.
Same as the Twins.
So I'm not exactly. Well, it's the only two teams that have these long streaks, right?
I think the Dodgers had one too, but they're all now tied, I believe, for the longest win streak on the season at 8 games.
Word.
Yep.
So yeah. But I mean, it's May. You know what I mean? It's May. There's so much that can happen. But that's why if we're fast forwarding to the end of the season, I really do feel like all things being equal here in the division, this Cardinal team is just like a 2-3 series win run away from being in the postseason.
But I do think there's going to be some push-pull here because, what are their goals for this season? I'm not saying they're going to pull the rug out completely or tank, but I do think, given the conversation around this organization and Nolan Arenado specifically in this offseason, that still feels like something that's almost going to happen unless they really, really take the question out of the front office's hands. And he's just, you're riding what you hope is like an 88 win or a surprise 90 win season. But I do think it's interesting that they are playing well, and we're so obviously looking to trade veterans this offseason. I believe Wilson Contreras declined the opportunity to be traded. Whether that's revisited at any point, he's having another solid season.
Sonny Gray as well.
Yep. Maybe it was Sonny Gray. Maybe I have those two mixed up, but I believe at least one veteran, if not two, said that they'd prefer to just stay.
I'm staying.
Yep. And I also think it's interesting that, since they are in a transition period and that they do have some young players that are popping here, at least, to some degree, or young-ish, I should say. I think it is a little of a, whatever the opposite of a silver lining is, that Jordan Walker is not among those players who looks like he belongs here.
Very disappointing.
And I think if you were to have asked a Cardinals person a couple of years ago who was the most important position player prospect in the system, it would have been Jordan Walker. And it just kind of keeps getting worse every time he gets back to the major league level. And then he goes back down, and it seems like it's a little bit worse every time down there, it seems to. So I don't know, maybe it's a change of scenery. Maybe it's just not going to happen, but a little bit of an unfortunate element in their successful start.
Of the Cardinals and the Twins, I believe the Cardinals won 8 straight to get to 3 above 500, and then the Twins won 8 straight to get to 1 game above 500. Of the 2 teams that have won 8 straight to achieve winning records, which one do you believe is the most sustainable? Which one do you think has the highest chance of finishing the season with a winning record?
Thou?
With the Cardinals or the Twins? Oh man. I would say the Cardinals. I think so. I mean, the only reason that gives me pause is because, and I don't know how many times the Twins and the White Sox have played. I mean, I don't know that those wins that you could maybe bank for the Twins are those negligible. Because I think the I don't know. Is the competition level better in the NL Central than it is in the AL Central? I don't know. I think these divisions, when you look at them, are fairly balanced, both of them. I think, yeah, I'm going to say the Cardinals.
I think the answer is probably both, but I guess like who has the better record is maybe the better question, and I'm with you on the Cardinals. Yeah, I think they can both easily finish with a winning record, but who has the better winning percentage when it's all said and done? I would roll with St. Louis just because, I mean, the starting pitching I like a lot. But I think who's to say that come trade deadline time that they don't, if they're like, all right, yeah, that's cool that we're hovering around 500, maybe we're a couple games over, but we're not going to make the playoffs. We have some valuable trade pieces here, that they don't just flip a couple guys that have been helping them kind of keep their head above water. I
mean, the Twins have dudes that are throwing the ball well. Joe Ryan's throwing the ball well, right? Pablo?
That would be that would be a haul. Like you trade Joe Ryan and like
even what's Ober's numbers?
Yeah, 3.5 in 8 starts.
Yeah.
I think the answer is you could make an argument for either one.
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable hanging my hat on the Twins pitching, perhaps, than I do any other element of the teams that we're talking about. Starting pitching, sorry.
Starting pitching. What about their bullpen, Jay? That's kind of where I was leaning. Like if it's the Twins, maybe it's their bullpen that separates them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can argue the whole staff. I mean, I really like Lopez, Ryan, and Ober as a front 3, as opposed to anything the Cardinals are trotting out.
Yeah, it's tidy.
But I have more concerns about the Twins' offense than I do about the Cardinals' ability to be a decent, solid offense. And not to be a cop out, but I think it may come down to like an environmental, like to your point, which division is better. I think my gut would have been that the NL Central was better prior to the start of the season, and that the bar for entry was higher because the Cubs were the best team that we're talking about here. But I'm not so convinced that the Tigers and Cubs aren't functionally equally as likely to reel off the same number of wins. And it really does look like that the Royals and Guardians might just be more competent, harder outs this season than some of those NL Central teams, Pirates, Reds, Brewers, etc. So, yeah, we'll see. I think it could go either way, but I think both teams are going to be faced with a question of what are our motivations this year? How motivated are we to make the postseason? Is it more important for us to reshuffle the deck and kind of try and sustain whatever moving forward, given the contract situations of a few key contributors on both sides?
I see here, Jayhay, that you have the D-backs promoting Jordan Lawlar.
Yeah, is that fishy for some reason?
It's not fishy, but I'm looking at the 2021 Major League Baseball draft. I see Henry Davis went 1-1.
Yep,
he's been called up to the big leagues.
Mm-hmm.
The Texas Rangers had the second pick. They went Jack Leiter.
Yeah, I see.
Who was called up to the big leagues? Yes, did Slab Lab with Dallas? Yeah.
Yep.
Correct.
Great young man. Young man.
Jackson Jobe was the 3rd pick by the Tigers, who is pitching this weekend. No, this week. I keep thinking that it's, I don't know what day it is.
He's always pitching. He's always coming around
pitching.
The corner.
He's pitching this series against the Red Sox.
So you guys get Scooble too. That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in the finale. Colton Cowser went 5th in this draft to the Baltimore Orioles. He's made his big league debut.
Yep.
And then Jordan Lawlar.
Yep.
The number 6 pick.
You skipped over one.
Did I?
You skipped over number 4.
Number 4?
Yep.
Oh, that's Marcelo Meyer.
Oh, he hasn't debuted yet, though. I don't think.
No.
Right? Oh, that's
no.
that's your point. Oh, okay.
Has not debuted yet.
He's not a
Yeah,
big leaguer.
Boston Red Sox.
Oh,
number
there's
2
a-
prospect in their system because they actually have someone that's even better than him. But saw a
Well-
report yesterday. There was a scout that was saying that Meyer actually might be just as good as Roman Anthony. I don't know.
We
Well,
got a lot.
he's
a
only a-
lot to unpack.
He's only a middle infield prospect who's got a 800 plus OPS in about 1,300 career minor league plate appearances. So maybe not seasoned yet.
Yeah, 6'4", absolute stud. I don't know. I mean, again, I didn't go to Yale. I don't know how to run a baseball team. But-
No, I think one of the key parts
Oh.
is not putting out your best players and
Yeah.
saving things for later because you don't want you want to catch the other team off guard.
I mean, I feel like you're like asking me my opinion on this. You're gonna have
Feel
to
like
ask the GM.
Feel like I know what your opinion is.
Yeah, you're gonna have to ask the GM on that.
I'd like to know your opinion, just between us, if you don't
Yeah,
mind sharing.
yeah. Jay can edit it out.
Did you see my sweatshirt, Dallas?
Saugus.
Yeah, I got this for $25 at Walgreens.
Sick.
I was gonna get you one, but they didn't have a kid small.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What?
They only had
Where-
adult sizes.
Where'd you pick yours up at?
Walgreens and
Walgreens?
Saugus, as previously stated.
Saugus.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pass.
Well, I know that you're a Craig Breslow ball washer. You guys played together for like 3 months or whatever.
'Cause we were teammates.
Yeah, he doesn't remember you. I think if I'm Rafael Devers, I don't respect him either. You don't respect me. Why should I respect you?
We call that a reverse Chen.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you? So is this Team Raffy? Is it? I just want to get an angle here. Are you Team Raffy?
Of course.
Okay.
You wouldn't be.
What's that?
You wouldn't be.
Am I with you? I think I've got a pretty good understanding of what has gone on here. And I think the point that we should all be talking about is the fact that somebody got on an airplane to have a conversation with the fella.
Mhm.
And that's something that doesn't happen often. And
I
that
heard
same
you. I
individual-
heard you slandering the situation on the A's broadcast, which was
Oh,
unbecoming. Yeah,
What?
no, I was listening.
No,
I was watching.
We're probably just going around the league talking about stories, you know.
Mm. No, I believe the direct quote was, "They have a first baseman yet? Red Sox, they don't have a first baseman, huh?"
Well, I mean, after
That's
losing
weird.
Tristan Casas, there seems to be a
Well,
lot
that
of question
injury
marks.
happened a while ago, so I don't know why you would have been talking about that.
Well, it just doesn't seem like there's been a resolution to the void. That's why.
Mm.
So,
That's fair.
And for the Red Sox to be a team that seems to waver on postseason aspirations and being basement dwellers daily.
They're in second place.
I know, but like the emotional fan base wouldn't tell you that.
Doesn't feel like that. They haven't played like a second place team. They're just taking advantage of a really mediocre division in the American League East. Yeah.
So, yeah, but what are we talking about here? Are we talking about whether or not this is how long is this going to play out? That's the question. How long is this going to play out? Because
while,
at some point in time, I think you just sort of like it's such a tough look that this has happened because there are so many people, in my opinion, that are responsible for it getting to this point. And whether or not there's been somebody that was once in a position to have his ear that may have lost that trust. And so now it feels like there's nobody that Rafi can really look to and trust because he's going like, well, maybe you and I had this conversation in the past and that conversation went one way and now it's kind of going the other. And I don't feel that we have that same communication. I don't feel like we're going to be on the same page. Like that's got to be a lonely place to be, especially on the heels of having conversations about who you are as a player, what your viability is. Like you feel as a player like that's being attacked, right? Regardless of you being the worst option defensively at the position you're playing and the opportunity to bring in a high caliber player at that position. Were you able to swallow that? Well, probably, but that's a jagged pill and you're still working through that. Now the idea of popping up somewhere else comes up and people just want to know, are you willing to do what's best for the team? That's the conversation that people always have when they talk about giving a boatload of money to a guy is this guy willing to do whatever it takes for the team? What does that look like? You know, because for Rafi, were we talking about a legacy as a Red Sox at third base? Is that what we were talking about, tarnishing and not being able to build? No. So are we having that same conversation at DH? Ever heard of Poppy? Next question. What are we doing? Papelbon said it. Grab the glove and let's go. What do we have to do because inherently working at this position X, doesn't that give you more of an opportunity to get back to being the ball player that you want to be, which means you do things on both sides of the ball, however good or bad it may be? Because, I mean, can we have a conversation with him statistically about how, and Pap said this, we know you're going to make errors. We know you're going to make mistakes. Is it going to be as bad as it was over at third base? Let me ask you this, Jared. If it is, does that not still fill the need of what you're looking for at the position on the corner? If you were happy with it or content with it to the extent that you were, letting him play third, why wouldn't you be okay with that now as the stopgap at first base?
I think that the most valuable thing that could come out of Rafi Devers playing first base isn't the fact that you'd be getting, good defense over there or whatever. It's the roster flexibility. Yeah. It opens up the roster for everyone else. Like that's the benefit.
So why do we so why hasn't and this is where it's from a player perspective, you do have an option here. You can dig in and for whatever reason, whether it's pride, you can dig in and take your stance because you've got your money. It's coming to you either way. From here, it's about how do you want this to unfold? How do you want this to go? Because you can go out there and try to get better. And if it's honest work, if you're dedicating yourself to the task at hand every day, I would believe he's going to get better. I want to believe that. So give yourself the opportunity to do that. Give your team the opportunity to open up holes and allow them to fill them with the talent that's on its way. And maybe you doing this is going to be the catalyst behind you moving on into October. Because you open things up. Your selflessness opened things up. And I know that might be difficult for a player to swallow. Jared, newsflash, I wasn't a $100 million guy. I wasn't a $200 million guy. I wasn't a $300 million guy. So maybe my perspective is different. Jonathan Papelbon, say what you may say about the dude as a competitor, competed his balls off, wanted to win, and was around guys who understood what it took to do that, especially when you just need anybody to step up and do everything you can. That should be what you want to do as a teammate.
Jayhay?
I know it's complicated. I know it's nuanced. I know there's a lot of fault on the side of the front office and perhaps Cora and how this has all been handled. But I just keep coming back to the same thing, which is like, to me, a couple of things. Like a lot of the retorts to the idea that Devers should go to first base just don't move me very much. Like the idea that the team should have had better internal first base depth than asking Devers to move from DH to first base. I don't know how people think baseball rosters are constructed or 40-man rosters are constructed. Could they have had a better option? Maybe. Could they have had a guy that would have satisfied the thirst of the fan base in losing Tristan Casas? I don't think so. Those people don't play backup spots to people on rosters. Like, yeah, Dom Smith worked out fantastically. There was a really good chance that Dom Smith didn't work out. And like that was kind of the same dart throw that they did this year in the depth pool. And so I just don't know like what people expect to be the filler there. And when you lose a guy at a position that you didn't have a ton of depth at for the season, I don't think it's crazy to ask a guy who is DHing and without a firm position right now to go try and do first base for the benefit of the team, to your point about opening up the roster flexibility. Secondly, like a lot of people have been citing his contract as a reason to not do it. To me, it is a reason to do it. Like I would be so much more sympathetic to Rafael Devers if they were fucking with his money. If they were asking him to do things out of his comfort zone in a walk year or before he had his long-term money. They issued him a contract that he earned. I'm not saying they gave it to him for $300 whatever million. And like some people have said, well, he took a below market deal. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what fucking world you're living in. There is no world where Rafael Devers was getting meaningfully more than the amount of money that he got given his limitations as a player and the fact that he would have had to wait multiple more years to get that money. So like, I don't really know what that's about. But like, I just feel like while I'm sympathetic to Devers in that he feels like he's been disrespected and that this has not been handled well, like, and possible translation issues from what his statement was and what it was intended to be. I don't think there was any mistranslation on the part where he said that like basically Breslow doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Right. So like, I mean, that was part of the quote, right? Am I wrong about that, Jared? Like he said, the GM basically doesn't know what he's doing. Right. Okay.
He said, I'm not a first baseman. Go out there and get one. You're the GM. Why don't you go trade for a first baseman?
Okay. He can feel that way. To me, man, like that is just, and I'm not a huge pecking order, like corporate chain of events or corporate pecking order guy, but like that to me is inappropriate. It's not what a leader of a baseball team does at direction of the GM for what he's being asked to do, man. Like he's not being asked to lay down for the Boston Red Sox. He's being asked to play first base when you just lost a guy to a season-ending patellar tendon issue.
What Jared, when did that quote pop up? Because the to the extent that I thought that he had sort of aired it out in regards to Breslow was and again, I'm paraphrasing here, but I don't play first base. This guy played the game. You think he would know, or like something to that extent. I thought that was the extent of like his sort of statements on Breslow. Where can you read that again?
Same conversation. I'll see if let me because I had the translator the translation wasn't perfect, but we had someone who listens to the podcast go back and give like a translation. Let me see.
And let's seriously, if we need to get something like, man, what that's brutal. Okay. I hate to think that at any point in time his emotion, because it exists, it's very real, the emotion, the word usage, word selection, phrasing in a different language from a different cultural perspective matters so much. There's so much context potentially lost in what he's saying and how he's saying
this is the translation.
You got to get this shit right.
Yes, after what happened with Casas, they came to me. I know I'm a ball player, but I can't play all positions either. I can't adapt to a position like any other ball player. If it's about playing first, they know it's not going to be an immediate success, but it's not going to be a very good decision. They came to me. It was now. I don't know why. If they themselves took me off a position, they told me that I had to throw away my glove, that I wasn't going to play a position anymore, and it's kind of senseless for them to ask me to play a position again. That it's not a good decision for them to come to me now because it just doesn't look good after they told me I wasn't going to cover my position in spring training, and now they're telling me that again. No, it was only with the GM. I don't know what that person's issue is with me. He played ball. I think also understands it's very difficult to change positions like that. I believe the baseball he played is not the baseball we're playing now. On if he misses playing in the field, they themselves put me in that situation. They themselves told me I would never play any position other than DH, and now they're putting me in a bind. I don't know why. Let them do their job. Let them find another player. Let them go to the market. I think that will be the best decision. Let them learn how to do their new job. If he thinks he'll change his mind, no. I am, as they themselves say, a little stubborn, and I believe this time I cannot change my mindset. I told them what my opinion was, and that's it. Were you upset that they asked you this? Yes, of course, because they don't keep their word. They don't keep their word because they already made me change from one position, and they themselves gave me, let's say, the assurance that it wouldn't happen again, and they don't keep their word. If there's beef with the team. In the clubhouse, thank God, no. But I don't know what the GM's issue is with me. He thinks I'm the type of player that he can keep moving to all sorts of positions. Soon an outfielder will get injured and he'll send me to the outfield, and I can't accept that because of the type of player that I am. And I believe that wherever they might send me, I'll do a good job. So that last part, people were like, does that mean like
you'll be fine at first base?
Like, does that mean that if they trade me somewhere that I'll do a good job there?
Oh, because what was the phrasing?
I'll be good wherever they send me. And believe that wherever they might send me, I'll do a good job.
Yeah, so that can definitely be interpreted like, are they going to send me to the outfield? Are they going to send me to first base? Or
could
are
be
they
either or.
Send me to Chicago? Where are they gonna send me? Dude, there's a lot to unpack there. Let's start with and you reference it. You didn't go to Yale. No, you did not, Jared.
No, I went to Endicott. Shout out Endicott. Got to speak to the students on Friday morning.
That's fine. Nobody benefited from that.
I don't believe that that's true.
There's a, like, deductive reasoning, like for Breslow and what he's going through and what he's thinking about. Like, he's probably just looking at it like, look, man, I didn't know that we had to tell you were that bad at third base. Like, you seem like a guy who's pretty self-aware. Sorry, here, newsflash, you're bad. We're bringing somebody who's not bad in. So there's that conversation settled. Like, this is a numbers sort of conversation too. You got to remember, right? And so Breslow's like, not here for the bullshit. The numbers say what they say. They are what they are. We're making these decisions highly based on percentages, averages, projections, blah, 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 blah. So that's where that decision-making process comes from. If there was anything cold about it, it's probably because this is his first go round at going through things like this. And we just don't have time. Like, I understand you feel a certain way about how you've been treated. That was not by me. I didn't do that to you. So here's how I'm going about the business of making us better and making us competitive is I am going to make the best possible decisions based on our payroll, based on our roster. And right now that has you not playing third base and it has you DHing. Things may change. We wake up tomorrow and our first baseman gets hit by the proverbial bus that he got ran over by with a torn patellar tendon, and we have nobody there that we have confidence in to plug and play, and we're paying you $300+ million. And now is not the time for you to talk to me about the positions you're willing to play, the positions you're not willing to play. Well, the old front office, and I'm not here for that. I can't have that conversation with you right now. And I'm sorry that you feel the way you feel about how you were treated by maybe other people that are still here, and you feel deceived or misled by them or even lied to by them. I can respect that, dude, because I did play, and I know what it's like to be told one thing one day and then moved the next. I get it. I get it. So the like Rafi having the pointed comment about the type of baseball that he played and the type of baseball that he's playing now and how they're different. Like, what is he saying? What's different? That Breslow was willing to do things that he's not willing to do for the team?
I understand that Rafi is basically, unless it's a tone or another mistranslation, asterisks on everything I'm about to say, like what we were just read to me is just unprofessional. And I like, if that makes me sound like a get off your lawn old man, and I think I have a long track record on this podcast of being pro player and anti-ownership, I can't have established that anymore. I just think this is more or less like loser talk. Like I don't remember a guy coming out and talking like this. The circumstances changed, man. Like you lost a key player to a season-ending injury. I understand that you feel misled, not only by the original front office that signed you to the deal, but maybe by ownership on a larger level, and maybe by this front office, given how this has played out with the DH stuff too. Like it can be this front office too. I understand he feels burned in a lot of different ways. Saying those things publicly, being disrespectful within the chain of command, like to me, that's I don't understand what his end game is there, other than being inflammatory and being hurt and having a microphone in his face. And I don't know. I just feel that the request that is being made of him, while an inconvenience and maybe not fair, is not so ridiculous that this is the reaction that should be being garnered. And if Craig Breslow's process needs to be evaluated by ownership or his bosses during the season or after the season, then to me, or his interpersonal skills, fine. But like, they're trying to win baseball games in the present. This is a team that had World Series postseason aspirations, and the contempt for the front office and by extension being willing to do what is best for the team, to me just comes off as a very immature approach. And that's with the caveat that I understand his feelings are hurt and that he feels betrayed. I still think it's immature.
Yeah, and Jay, you said it, but I have always, right? I've always kind of put players in two different categories, like the player who gets breaded up and says, we're riding now. Like, what do you need me to do? Do I need to fucking rub the balls up before the game too? Done. What do you need me to do? I got the money. I'm not worried about I have nothing to worry about outside of chasing a ring. Do you want me to do this right-handed? Fuck it. Let's go. What do you need me to do? And then there's the player who considers things a little differently. And right now, Rafi's looking like that player who's considering things a little differently, because there's like, outside of genuinely just saying like, I don't want to get hurt because I want to keep playing and I want to play the game. Like, okay, well, you're playing the game to get paid, right? Well, that happened. That's been taken care of. Well, I'm not asking you to put yourself in any sort of other vulnerable position to prevent that. And I already went over the legacy idea, right? And I'll say this, going back to it, I don't know how much time Poppy's spending in that building. I'd like to believe that if his opinion of what it felt like being there was different, because I'll go back to what he said about how they don't listen, right? It's not an appreciation of what's happened in that organization in the past and who's done it. I'd like to think that maybe Poppy being around might have, I don't know, maybe it has a different impact. Maybe Rafi's told like, hey, buddy, after this one, we're done talking. Like, we're done talking. Let's just stop.
Well, what I said last night on Section 10 was John Henry did not fly out there to coddle him. Like, I obviously it was a Breslow free conversation. I think Cora was in the conversation, but not involved. I think he was probably just there to make sure nothing was lost in translation this time. It felt like it was described as a one-on-one between Henry and Devers. And I think that if we were a fly on the wall in that conversation, we would understand that, nothing about that was like, how do you feel? Like, let's talk this out. It was probably like, hey, motherfucker, like, I pay you. You're going to do what we ask you to do. And I don't know. So,
yeah, I mean, the next time he gets a microphone put in front of him, if there's questions about it, that'll tell us, because it will either be a very PC team-oriented answer, which will let you know exactly what went down in that room, or he will continue to dig in and speak the way he's spoken about the situation to the extent that he has. And that'll also give you the answer that he's, quote unquote, about that life, if he's going to continue to, to air it out. So that'll be the insight. His next quote.
I didn't see it, but Coley said last night, apparently Devers said something to the effect of, like, reporters kept asking him, like, what was the conversation with John Henry like? And he implied or directly said that maybe I'm still like pissed off about this, but I'll talk about it in Detroit maybe. And now they're in Detroit. So I don't know. Maybe later in the week we'll have more to discuss on this topic. But I have plenty to say about Mack Weldon.
Talk to me.
Yeah. Because Mack Weldon has everything you need to stay cool, comfortable, and stylish, regardless of the temperature. Their new Tech Linen line combines the easy charm of classic linen with Cool Max technology to help you look and feel your best all season long. Explore polos, sweaters, hoodies, and more at MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order with the promo code Jared. That's Jared. They fit me great. I know that Dallas has a weird body. They even fit him great. Doesn't matter what type of physique you're rocking. Mack Weldon will have something that looks great, feels great, smells great, photographs great, all the above. Looking confident doesn't have to mean calling attention to your clothes. Mack Weldon balances classic pieces with updated details to keep you looking sharp. They're not flashy, just classic, always in style, and made from the world's most comfortable performance materials. Mack Weldon clothes are designed to fit your style and the demands of modern life. They look like regular clothes, but feel like the latest in modern comfort. They're the go-to choice for guys who want to look great without even trying. Breathable underwear that keeps you cool, dry, and comfy all day long. Crazy comfortable, but elevated sweatpants. Give your closet a breath of fresh air for spring. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with the promo code Jared. That's MackWeldon.com, promo code Jared. Shout out to the folks at Mack Weldon for sponsoring today's podcast. We appreciate you guys very much.
Holla.
Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get the fuck out of here?
I just on the Lawlar note.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just interested to see where he plays and how that goes. I know the quotes were given that suggest that they see him as basically a guy who's going to fill in at all of the infield positions that he's comfortable at, despite the fact that those are occupied by Ketel Marte and Perdomo and Eugenio Suarez primarily. So that's a lot to ask of a young guy, particularly one who got a taste in 23 of the big leagues and was, really unsuccessful. He's obviously been red hot at the minor league level this year and earned the promotion, but just kind of interested to see for one of the game's top prospects how that plays out and what's what he can add to an already pretty loaded offense. That's not my final thought, but that is one thing that I wanted to hit on before we moved on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dallas, did you have anything else you wanted to hit on before we get to final thoughts?
No, I guess I'll save it for my final thought.
All right, perfect. Jayhay, you got some nugs for us?
I do. Yep. Still waiting on that Baines meter. We got teased last week. Carlos Santana got right up there and then decided to kind of cool it a little bit. So, the wait continues for those who are wondering what's going on there. Dallas, I'm not trying to be argumentative here, but I did just want to. Well, I did. No. I wanted to circle back on the Freddie Freeman thing because I'm sure there were people listening to that who thought I was dead wrong and all that sort of stuff. I at least want to share one piece of data. that I think backs up what I was saying. Okay. Freddie Freeman wins above replacement ranks among first basemen in the live ball era. So since 1920, basically a century of baseball, through age 25. So that era that I was talking about where I didn't view him a certain way. He ranked 21st among first basemen in a live ball era. So could that be a Hall of Famer? Certainly. Is it? Not at that track record. Freddie Freeman, B-War ranks through age 35, which I referenced earlier this podcast, 62.7. That's ninth. So he's now yeah. And he's got the rest of this season, right? So like that is squarely in the greatest first baseman over a 100-year period, which I think accurately captures where Freddie Freeman is now. But I just wanted to kind of back up my own point with a little bit of data instead of conjecture. Kyle Schwarber obviously was the sole source of offense basically on Sunday Night Baseball last night. He is the sixth player in Phillies franchise history with 14 or more homers through the first 40 games of a season. The most recent guy to do that was Rhys Hoskins, most recent Philly, in 2017. Raul Ibanez, the only other one to do so during, I think, all of our lives. I think Mike Schmidt's prime predated that. There are, so we talked Twins and Cardinals. Before the win streak, the Twins were 29% to make the postseason. They are now 50% to make the postseason. So a nice little coin flip for them now. Should be a very interesting AL Central. The Cardinals were 10% to make the postseason. They are now 30% to make the postseason. So they tripled their odds, but still obviously less likely than likely. And I know he got to 14, but Aaron Judge is the seventh player with 13 or more homers through the first 39 games of a season in the wild card era. The list was, our childhood basically. So I had to share Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey, Mark McGwire, A-Rod, Sammy Sosa, and Mo Vaughn. Yep. And then got to mention this one because as the final one, because it's very important for jersey bet purposes. Shout out to Jason Dominguez, who single-handedly turned around his 2025 season from an offensive standpoint with one good day of work, as Dallas likes to say. 3 homers against the A's. He's the youngest player with a 3-homer game against the A's franchise since second youngest, really, since Al Kaline, Hall of Famer, did so on April 17th, 1955. So that got his OPS over 800 for the season. And he's also not at negative defensive runs saved. I believe Juan Soto has closed the gap with Pete Alonso OPS wise by like 100 points in a week. So I am trending towards having 2 lovely new jerseys back here for the backdrop for the 2026, or at least
they
the
should
off-season.
both be from Dallas because he's the one that fucking
Get
cost
the
me this jersey for Jason Dominguez. It's his
Well,
fault.
it was looking good right up until the A's gave up 3 homers. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going
Which I
to
know
collapse.
is-
So I still feel good about the fact that he's a bum.
I gotta
Dallas, how
tell
you
you,
feeling
Jared,
about that Soto Alonso situation?
I feel good about it. I feel great about it. Come on,
Man.
Pedro Alonso. We saw it. Who outside of Pavin Smith, highest OBP in the National League. Right?
Jared, are you familiar with the official jersey bet that went on the docket? I think you were out. I want to make
No.
sure that you're looped in. Okay,
No.
great. So Dallas and I got a 100% official jersey bet on the books during your trip, and it's who finishes with a higher season OPS in 2025, Pete Alonso or Juan Soto.
Okay. So
And it was made when there was like a 300-point gap between the two of them.
got
I
it.
mean,
And Juan Soto's done nothing but hit homers and get on base since the minute the bet was made. And I'm
What's
looking.
the gap right now?
It was, I should have checked.
Sizable.
It was 170
Oh.
as of the last check. Let's see.
Oof.
Juan Soto currently at 842. That's a good season, heading in the
cute.
right direction.
That's
Pete
cute.
Alonso at 1047. So it's
Ooh,
205 points. Back up a
Yeah.
little bit.
That is- yeah.
We like where we're
Little
sitting
aggressive.
though. It was 300 last week. Maybe it'll be 100 next time we talk.
Yeah, I'd pause on clearing wall space, pal.
And then mine was Dominguez has to have an 800 or better OPS and a positive defensive run saved.
Yeah, I think it has to be negative for me to lose the bet. I think 0 was still in my favor. So
Okay.
we can go back and check the tapes on that one, but I think it has to be below 800 and a negative defensive run saved for you to win the bet. And the stakes on that one actually aren't jersey bets, so I have to come clean on that one. I don't have to clean up any wall space. It was snacks during the postseason stream.
I thought it was a jersey.
No, I think we settled on snacks.
I thought we did a different bet that was snacks.
Well, maybe me or someone else can go back and look at the tape because we got to get that cleaned up.
Yeah,
I
you
know
gotta get
100% that Dallas is going to send me a Juan Soto Mets jersey by the end of the year, though.
Wow. Yeah, Dallas
I
still
want-
owes me a jersey from last season, so don't count on it.
Oh no, I'm going to hold his ass to the fucking fire on
No,
that
you're
one.
Good luck. He's the cheapest motherfucker alive.
I want.
He's owed me a jersey for a calendar year. Never even asked me what I wanted.
This couldn't be any further from the truth.
Yeah, so he actually still owes me a Dallas Braden perfect game poster from 2019.
I did.
Yeah.
Hand up.
Yeah.
Yikes. That's 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so good luck
I'll-
getting your Juan Soto jersey when
I'll get
he's
around.
inducted into the Hall of Fame in 20 years.
Listen, I've got direct contacts to the people who produce and create the graphics for the podcast. If you don't think every podcast would be titled Jayhay tries to get his Juan Soto jersey, part 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, until I got that fucking thing, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a man of my word. You will have your jersey in the off chance.
What about
don't-
my jersey?
No,
The
no.
fuck?
I don't owe you a
We don't
jersey.
have-
You're
we don't have
already
airtime for this.
promising Jayhay a jersey he didn't win, but I beat you in a jersey bet last season, and you're just like, Jayhay, brother, if you want that jersey, I'll send it to you today.
Yeah, you don't even need to win the bet, baby.
Yeah,
That's
that's
never
crazy.
happened. That never
That's good.
happened.
Why?
You never-
Why? I mean, I'll keep talking about it until like Garrett
You
will
don't
pull
even-
the
you don't even
audio.
remember the bet.
I bet you Garrett has the audio ready to go right now.
Yeah.
I bet
You
you,
don't even
he will
remember
be
the
like,
bet.
He's
oh yeah,
mash burning all over that right now.
he'll pull it up and be like, oh yeah, here's my jersey bet file. Here it is, Dallas. Tag this fucking bald idiot and let him know that he lost his jersey bet to me last year and never even texted me to be like, hey, what do you want? All right, let's square this away. Let's make this right. Because
If- hey,
obviously
if-
I have wronged you and I've been an awful friend. I'm a
Glad
man
we're
of my
getting this
word
out.
most of the time, not really. But here's the jersey that I owe you. He doesn't even
I
have to
mean,
ask me my address. He knows my address.
You feel some kind of way about this. All right, you need to. Yeah, I need street legal evidence that this actually occurred and I'd
Again,
be
because
more-
I know we've already done this. We've
I'd be more than
definitely
happy.
already pulled the audio at one point. That's why I'm
Yeah.
so confident Garrett will just have it on hand because I'm pretty sure, or like the Reddit or the discourse will be like, yeah, you like. I personally don't remember. I just know that I won. I don't remember
Dude,
what it was.
Jake will probably leak Garrett the raw tapes so that he
Yeah.
has it before the podcast is even released.
It had something to do with like the preseason predictions.
See, you don't even remember.
I don't. I'm admitting that I don't. That
It's
doesn't
like-
mean
it's
that
like
I
a-
didn't win.
because it's a dream in your head that happened.
That's like it's if you won the lottery and it's like, yeah, I don't remember the numbers that I picked, and it's like, all right, well then you don't get to win the lottery. It's like, no, that's not how that works. I have the ticket right here.
Well, anyway, good luck to you getting that jersey. I feel pretty good about how I'm set
I'm
up
not
for
getting the
future.
jersey. I've already accepted
Yeah,
it.
Jay, hey, I'll confirm. I'll just triple confirm your address. after
Yes,
the
please
pod.
do. Obviously after the pod.
Confirm your address.
Hey, quick final thoughts.
Yeah,
Just a lot to look forward to this week,
in terms
baseball wise.
of
Mariners Yankees series starts. That's a good one. D-backs Giants.
Mhm.
That's a good one. Paul Skeens is in New York. He's in Queens tonight, facing the Mets. Juan Soto. That's pretty cool.
That,
Mhm.
yeah.
Pete
Jersey bet
Alonso.
watch. Mhm.
And
Francisco Lindor. What?
and
Brandon Nimmo.
and
Mark Vientos.
we know it could happen this week, Jay.
It could absolutely happen this week. I mean, in terms of things I'm looking forward to, it is the number one thing. We're going to need Carlos Santana to keep going, man. Come on, man.
Let's go, Carlos. Let's go, Carlos, brother.
Soto returns to the Bronx on Friday. That's going to be fun.
Oh.
Obviously, we've got a couple of podcasts before that happens, but that's something to look at. And then Dallas, you're getting an up close and personal look at your boy Shohei Ohtani. And I believe on the schedule you have Yamamoto and Sasaki, correct? Wednesday and Thursday.
I want to say he hired extra security for the series to keep Dallas away from him.
That's not true.
That's what I was told. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but I mean, I was told that by several
it's called
people.
The BV. It's that is a special security group. I believe they're called the BV specialists, and that is you do specific training, like all different type of environments and topographical specific training to take care of that. Like that's the BV group.
Shohei has his own secret service.
We're good here.
The hot slab lab content this week is Dallas getting hauled away in cuffs as he tries to get close to Roki and Yamamoto and Ohtani.
They're like, no, dude.
Yeah, sorry. Those were my final thoughts. Just excited about good week in baseball.
Dallas.
My final thoughts are, just watching Judge this weekend was thoroughly impressive. Like perhaps one of the by his standard, one of the most boring 4-hit games ever, but I mean, balls hit hard. He hit 2 homers in a game. I think he hit 500 in the series. It was just, yeah. And talking to Booney, and it's just like, bro, he's playing. He is a man playing Little League right now. Is what it looks like. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy.
All right. I don't really have a final thought today. I'm just happy to watch baseball this week. Happy to be going back to Fenway this weekend. I haven't been to any games this year.
Wow.
Yeah. I went to opening day,
Wow.
but I didn't even really get the chance to go
Jayhay.
outside because I was too busy
sure.
paying the bill for everyone that didn't offer to pay.
Jayhay.
Yeah.
Yep. You care.
But I'll be there on Friday and Saturday.
My grandma's been to more games this year than you. That's terrible to think about.
But I'll be there
Wow.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, you keep beating that drum for the Red Sox, apparently. You invested. Hashtag.
I'm invested.
Yeah, no, for sure. Enjoy your opening. Oh, you said you went to opening day, but you weren't really there emotionally. You were checked out. Is that what you said?
No, I was there emotionally.
Oh, I thought I misheard that. No, well, yeah. Enjoy your first game that I guess you'll care about this year.
No, I care about all the games.
Oh, okay.
You don't?
Oh no, I do. I go to every game. Yeah.
Yeah, you go because you're paid to go. I mean, I'm paying to go. I'm going to go park, and
Hey,
I have to pay for food and all that.
we're both there for the love of the game, is what it boils down to. Pal.
No,
That's
you're there
just-
for the paycheck. You've told me that off the record. You said if they ever stop paying me, I would never go to another A's game ever again. But I
Well, no,
I
that's
actually
not
have
true.
to
I mean,
pay. You did say that. I have to pay
I-
money to go. So that shows how much I care, is that I'm losing money to be there while you're gaining money to be there. So
Sounds like one of us figured it out.
yeah. That's fair. We'll be back on Wednesday?
True story.
All right. Enjoy your 48 hours of baseball until we meet again. Lots more to discuss. And honestly, I will say this to the BID listeners out there. If you complain about it, we'll talk about it. I mean, bullying works. I've said this a million times. Bullying works. If you bully, we would probably not have talked about the St. Louis Cardinals today if you didn't complain about it. So just be nice, bully in a nice way. Don't be like, hey, you fucking asshole. If you don't talk about that, then I won't do it. But there was one
gentle
BID
nudge.
listener that said, I think he threatened to never listen to the podcast again if we didn't talk about the Cardinals today. And I was like, deep down, I know you don't mean that. You have a sickness. You're going to listen. You're going to listen regardless. But I will talk about the St. Louis Cardinals for you today. So special requests will be fulfilled. Think of us as your favorite baseball DJ. Tell us what you want to hear. Yeah, and we'll talk about it. So, all right. See you on Wednesday. Love you. Bye.